In this sum, we'll find the mean by a new method called assume mean method. So in the first column, the weight in kgs are given. In the next column, the number of students have been given. This means there are 4 students who weigh 67 kilos. There are 3 students who weigh 70, 2 students who weigh 72, 2 students who weigh 73, and 1 student who weighs 75 kgs. We need to find the mean. So for this assume mean method, we just assume the mean to be 72. Any one number. Usually you take the number that's in the middle, but you could take any number from the xi. So you assume the mean to be 72. Then in the next column, you calculate the deviation. Means you do deviation di. Every reading you subtract from a. Like in the first case, we have 67. Here is 67. So you write here 67 minus a, which is 72. Next you have 70. So you do 70, that is xi, minus 72. Then the next you have 72. 72 minus 72. Then the fourth you have 73. So 73 minus 72. And last you have 75. You do 75 minus 72. So each of the reading you subtract by 72. 72 was the mean that you had assumed, the A. Each reading is subtracted from 72. And on this subtraction here, you will get minus 5. Here you will get minus 2. Here 0. Then you get 1. And here you get 3. So these readings are important. So now you've got your DI. The next step is to do FI DI, which means 4 into minus 5, and that is minus 20. 3 into minus 2, minus 6. 2 into 0, that is 0. 2 into 1, that is 2. 1 into 3, and this is 3. The next step is to add up, take summation fi di, and if you add all these up, you get the answer minus 21. You need to also add up the frequencies, this sigma fi, which is now in this case 12. So here we have sigma fi, which is n, number of observations is 12. We have sigma fi di we got as minus 21, and our assumed mean, if you remember, was 72. The formula for mean is assumed mean A plus summation fi di over n. So the A was 72, summation fi di was minus 21, and your n was 12. So this is 72 minus 21 over 12. So this is 72 minus 1.75, and here it is 70.25 kg will be your mean. Now for the next sum, we have wages in rupees and number of workers. We need to find the mean. Now what is the meaning of this table? There are 7 workers that earn 800 rupees. There are 14 workers that earn 820. There are 19 workers that earn 860. 25 workers that earn 900. 20 workers that earn 920. 10 workers that earn 980. And 5 workers that earn 1,000 rupees. Here we are doing the assume mean method. So we've got to assume one of the readings as the mean. And to make it easy, we will take 900 as a assume mean A. You can take any number that you want. It's best to take a middle number, any one of the middle number. So we have to find the deviation. Deviation means we have to find DI, means every reading xi we must subtract from the mean A. So in this case, we are going to do xi, every reading subtract from 900, because we took the assumed mean as 900. So in the first case, we have 800. So this 800 we will subtract from 900. In the next, our reading is 820. So 820 we subtract 900. Then next one is 860. So we take 860 and subtract 900. Then the next one is 900. So we take 900 and subtract 900. Then we have 920. So 920 we subtract 900. Then take the next reading, 980. Here to subtract 900. And then we have here 1000, and from here we subtract 900. Here we get the answer minus 100. Here it will be minus 80. This will be minus 40. This will be 0. Here is 20. Here on subtraction is 80. Here on subtraction is 100. For the next step, we need to find fi di. Means we need to multiply. This is my fi. This is fi. This is di. You need to multiply and you'll get here minus 700. Now 14 into minus 80, and that is minus 1120. Then 19 into minus 40, and that is minus 760. 25 into 0, and that is 0. 20 into 20, and that would be 400. 10 into 80, 800. And 5 into 100, 500. And I need to take the total of fi di, and the total here works out as minus 880. The total number of readings is, you add the fi, which comes here in this case is 100. So now we know summation fi, or total number of readings, was 100. We had sigma fi di, which is minus 880, and we assumed the mean to be 900. Now the formula for mean is a plus sigma fi di over n. Now let's go ahead and put the values. Our a we had taken as 900. Summation fi di we found as minus 880. Number of readings we got 100. So this will be 900 minus 8.8. And on calculation you get a 891.2. That is the mean wage. So many rupees. A class teacher has the following absentee record of 40 students of a class for the whole term. Find the mean number of days a student was absent. Now this sum is a little different from the other one, because here we have given the class size 0 to 6. There were 11 students. Those students absent between 0 and 10 were 10 students. 10 to 14 were 7 students. 14 to 20 days were 4 students. 20 to 28 days were again 4 students. Then we have 28 to 38 days 3 students. 38 to 40 1 student. Now here two values, so we need to find something called the class mark. To find the class mark, we add the lower limit plus upper limit divide by 2. So in this case it will be 3. In the next one, to find the class mark, next we'll do 6, lower limit, upper limit, divide by 2, and it is 8. For the next one, it is 10 plus 14 divide by 2, and that works out 12. For the next, it is 14 plus 20 divide by 2, and that would work out as 34 by 2, and that is 17. Next we do 20 lower limit, 28 upper limit divide by 2, and this will work out as 24. For the next, we have lower limit 28 plus upper limit 38 divide by 2. We are finding class mark here. This works out 33. And the last, lower limit 38 plus upper limit 40 divide by 2, and this works out as 39. We go ahead and do the sum. We have to assume a mean, and in this case we'll assume the mean as 17. A equal to 17. In the next column we need to find a deviation, and the deviation we do xi minus a. Means every reading xi we have to subtract 17. So in the first, when we will do 11. First we'll do 3 minus 17. For the next we'll do 8 minus 17. Then we do 12 minus 17. Next will be 17 minus 17. Each reading we subtract from 17. So here we have 24 minus 17. Then we have 33 minus 17, and last we'll have 39 minus 17. And this is minus 14. Here is minus 9. When we subtract this, we get minus 5. Here is 0. 7. 33 minus 17 is 16. And this last one comes 22. The next step is to do fi di. Means we need to multiply. This is fi. And here is our di. We need to multiply fi and di. So in the first case, we need to multiply 11 into minus 14, and that will be minus 154. Then 10 into minus 9, minus 90. 7 into 12. Oh, that's wrong. We need to do 7 into minus 5 with fi di. And this would be now minus 35. So this is fi into di 0, fi 4, di 7, 30, 28. Then fi 3 di 16, 48. fi 1 di 22, 22. We need to find sigma fi di, add up this whole total, and we'll get minus 181. Here we need to add up these total to get sigma fi, which is n, and this comes to 40. So we know here is n, the number of readings. It is sigma fi equal to 40. Sigma fi di we calculate as minus 181, and now a was 17. Mean equal to a plus sigma fi di over n. So your a is 17 minus 181, that is fi di. N is 40, number of readings. So you have 17 minus 4.52, and this answer comes as 12.48. So the mean, hence the mean 12.48 number of days a student was absent. So here's yet another sum, and we need to find the mean by the assume mean or deviation method. So we need first to find the class marks. To find the class marks of the first class, you do upper limit plus lower limit divide by 2, and this would be now 15.5. For the next class mark, upper limit plus lower limit divide by 2, and this answer is 25.5. In the same way you go through all. So next one will be 31 upper limit plus lower limit divide by 2, and in this case you get 35.5. Here 41 plus 50 divide by 2, you get 45.5. 51 plus 60 divide by 2, this will be 55.5. And last 61 plus 70 divide by 2, 65.5. Now we need to choose our assume mean. So we'll assume more or less, see there are two numbers here in between, but I will just take the 35.5 is my assume mean. You could have also taken this number 45.5, any one that you want. In the next we're going to do the deviation. Deviation is xi minus a. Each reading we got to subtract from 35.5. So here 15.5, we need to subtract it 35.5. Next one is 25.5, that is xi, subtract 35.5. Next one is 35.5, so 35.5 is xi, subtract from the assumed mean 35.5. Then we have 45.5, that is xi, subtracted 35.5. Remember, all these readings are xi. This class marks is xi. Each one of them, you subtract the assumed mean from each one of them. So 55.5 minus 35.5. And then we have last 65.5 minus 35.5. Now the first one on subtraction. This one, when we subtract, here we get minus 20. The next subtraction, when we do this subtraction, here we get minus 10. And then we'll do this, the third subtraction, and for this the answer comes 0. Then we subtract 45.5 from 35.5, and here we get minus 10. Then we subtract 55.5 from 35.5 here, and we get here 20. Here's not minus 10, here's plus 10. And then we do the last subtraction, we get 30. So that was our DI. Now we need to multiply FI DI. So here in the last column we do FI DI, means we do 9 in, that is FI DI minus 20, so we get minus 180. FI 42 DI minus 10 minus 420. FI 32 DI 0 0. FI 12 into DI plus 10 120. FI 6 into DI 20, you get 120. Here to 4 into 30, you get again 120. And then you find the total here, which is sigma FI DI, and the total comes minus 240. Here we add up, we get total readings, that is comes at 105, which is also the total observations. So we assumed our mean is 35.5. Sigma FI DI turned out to be minus 240, and the total observations N, which is also sigma FI, turned out to be 105. Now formula for mean: A, assume mean, plus sigma FI DI over number of observations. We'll put our values here. we have 35.5 was I assume mean minus 240 FIDI over 105. So here it works out 35.5 minus 2.29 approximately, which is equal to 33.21. So the mean of the distribution equal to 33.21.